My experience is that it starts slow and it's hard to do, but you gain momentum over time. And it's a lot about mindset. A lot of people think they're going out and begging for money and it feels uncomfortable to them. Um, but it's more about providing opportunity to people. And if you provide an opportunity that's compelling enough, they will invest. There's a lot of people out there that want to invest in real estate, but maybe too busy. And you give them this avenue to invest in real estate with someone they know and trust.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest is a commercial agent and investor in Minneapolis. Please welcome Kurt Pauley. Kurt, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's great to have you. I'm glad to make the connection. And I think it's interesting talking to agent investors. I am one. I like to connect with as many people in the space as possible. Which came first for you, the agent or being an investor?
The investment came first in 2016 while I was working a day job. Bought a couple properties on the side.
I always like to ask folks how they got into the real estate space when I'm talking to guests. Did you have friends, family, or people that you knew that were involved in real estate? How'd you get in?
A little bit. I always wanted to. When I was growing up, I grew up on a farm, and my dad built 5 houses on land we owned and also bought farmland, so I saw the power of real estate. Prior to living in Minneapolis, I lived in New York City, and it felt unattainable to get into it. Once I moved to Minneapolis, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book called The Alchemist, and within a few weeks after that, I had my first property under contract.
I'm actually from northern New Jersey. I grew up about 28 miles from New York City, so I had a similar experience of this feeling that this is very difficult to be an investor, and it never even really crossed my mind at all. And then I lived in Massachusetts for a period of years, which is another area where it's a little bit trickier. I moved to Texas and I saw so many what I would call mom and pop investors. And that really opened my eyes for me. A lot of land in Texas as well. I also came from this idea of being active outside of being a realtor. I was a wholesaler for about 2 years prior to getting my license. What drove you to get a real estate license?
In my mind then, it was to get out of my day job, so I became an agent, soon had 5 or 6 listings, and I came home and told my family I'm quitting my job. And they all thought I was crazy, but I knew I could be successful as an agent. I already had produced that many listings, and yeah, it really helped me have that flexible lifestyle and pursue my investments on the side and make decent money being an agent as well.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
I had the same reaction. I think a lot of people that are involved in real estate when they're just getting started, specifically if they don't have lots of connections within real estate, or if they're moving from a W-2 job, people look at you like, "What are you doing?"
Mhm.
And for me, I was very exhausted. I was burnt out from a career working in an automotive space, and I felt like, well, what do I do? And a Google search was what got me involved in real estate. I do want to pivot and ask you about the
Yeah.
commercial side. Did you know
Yeah.
when you got your license that you wanted to do commercial?
Not necessarily at the beginning, it always just intrigued me as well, but I did a lot of residential. And then on my investment side, I bought 2 mixed use buildings, and I love the commercial aspect of those buildings. On the investment side, I love those longer term tenants in a retail space, for example. Um, and I like that market a little better. It's more about the numbers, more sophisticated investors. It's not necessarily about emotions like single family. So I was drawn to that. And then got asked to join a commercial brokerage in called NAI Legacy. And the rest is history, really. I loved it and jumped in, and kind of aligns with me wanting to invest in apartment buildings and then also do commercial brokerage as well.
I want to ask you about the commercial space and deal timelines, deal flow, and reasonable expectations, for folks who may be thinking about getting involved as a commercial realtor, right?
Yeah.
When you think about commercial versus single family, two totally different ball games, and single family is no walk in the park either. But with commercial, you're looking at so many different factors that come into play. What's a reasonable time frame for a full commercial deal?
I mean, you'd probably be doing good you'd be quick if it was 5 to 6 months from start to close. I've had multiple deals go longer than a year, and I think about maybe closing 4 or 5 big deals in 1 year. So your tolerance for things to go wrong has to be high, because they will go up and down, and deals will get dragged out. And every single asset class is a lot different. So multifamily might be different than industrial, versus a land deal might take 2 years because you have to work through the city or environmentals or
Right.
anything that could come up. So yeah, I think long timelines you got to get used to. It's part of having a thick skin as an agent. You get used to that, waiting for a commission, right? And, oh, I'm only gonna have 4 or 5 big ones this year. What if one drops? And you get worried and all those stressors of it, right? So you still kill what you eat, and you have to do that. But yeah, it's an education thing, right? Like, personal success rarely exceeds personal development, they tell me. So I had to develop myself and educate myself with all the commercial assets, and just be a student to be able to be successful in that. I couldn't expect that I could go right from residential to commercial and it would be easy. I can tell if someone calls me about a deal, I can tell in 2 seconds if they're a residential agent or a commercial agent by how they talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
I want to ask you about commercial multi-use or flex use.
Yeah.
And I think there's an interesting niche there. And I don't know exactly when this started to become more prevalent, but as a Texas agent and as just someone who's lived in Texas, I no longer live in Texas, but as an agent, you see so many of these properties, and it seems to be more and more and more common and more demand for it as you see more apartment complexes, and then you see more retail spaces, and you tend to see what it feels like a whole uh, it almost feels like a mini town built around, commercial residential plus retail plus restaurants.
Yeah. I mean, that's been a huge trend for years and years lately. And it's pushed by investors, developers, but also by the city municipalities that want that retail level on the main floor. So the cities and zoning commissions are driving a lot of what goes there. It's funny, here in Minneapolis, we see a lot of mixed-use buildings get built in the last few years, retail on the main floor, a bunch of apartments, and a lot of those retail spaces are sitting vacant. So we see developers now go to the city and say, hey, we want to put ground-up residential on the main floor, not commercial, and they're getting some pushback from the city. But I can think of 5 empty retail spaces right now. So I think dynamics have shifted a little bit, where maybe some of these Class A buildings are a little overbuilt in areas, and
Yeah.
also the rent that they need to get from these commercial space has to be so high that they can't find a tenant. I think about it, interest rates and construction costs and everything. You
The
get to this level, you can only have so many tenants who can pay that much for that retail space.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Those retail spaces, as you mentioned, they're very niche. They tend to be very high end. So, who is the exact avatar of the tenant that can come in there? I think of like San Antonio, Texas, where I saw so much of this, and there was probably even more building of this that they had going on. And as the city was expanding, you would see these beautiful areas, and then you would also see this flex use commercial. And now that I've met more and more folks like yourself, Kurt, it really drives home that if you want to be active in real estate for any period of time, you've got to be able to niche down, but you've also got to be able to pivot, right? So that
Yeah.
same type of avatar might not have been as common or as sought after, 15 years ago, but today it is very common. And as you mentioned, there may be another pivot taking place because some
Yeah.
of the tenants, don't want to be paying that super high rent, and therefore the investors are saying, let's have residential on the ground floor. I do want to pivot though here, Kurt, and ask you about Minneapolis in general. I've had a couple guests on the show from Minneapolis, and I always like to ask folks who are investors. Uh, if I was looking at Minneapolis, what are some of the benefits of investing in and around the greater Minneapolis area?
I lived a few different places, just in a general and living in a place. It's the most amazing place I ever lived. I have a creek right in my backyard, but I'm 10 minutes from the airport, 5 pro sports, all those amazing things. But I would say Minneapolis is very, and the Twin Cities in a whole is very steady Eddie. We still have slight rent growth right now, where other like maybe Sunbelt states or certain parts of the country that were so hot to apartment syndicators and investors have seen negative rent growth, right, and vacancy and things of that nature. We've also felt some pain here, but very steady Eddie. Which I've talked to investors that invest in me, and they enjoy that, where they say their deals in maybe Texas or Arizona and these other places aren't going as well. So it's safe, it's steady. We have lots of Fortune 500 companies, steady population growth. So Minneapolis itself, unique dynamics. We see a lot of people moving from Minneapolis proper, urban, to suburbs. And it's kind of a myth where people think, oh, Minneapolis is dying. It's really broken even. A lot of people have moved to the suburbs, but a lot of other people from like Fargo and Milwaukee and these smaller markets have moved to Minneapolis and taken their spot. So the numbers have remained strong here. But Minneapolis in general, I think Minneapolis has gone through a heck of a time these last few years, and some investors just won't invest in Minneapolis at all and just want like a first string suburb.
Hmm. What
So
I've noticed from, and I can't speak for every city, right? I don't think this would necessarily apply to New York City, for instance, but for the cities that I've lived in Texas, and then I've seen so much interest in Florida, which is another area of the country where a lot of people are looking at real
sure.
estate and then all industry. It feels like there is this understanding that if you can invest in an area outside of a city, it may be more favorable to investors. You might not be able to demand the exact rents that you could within the city, but it's more favorable to investors. So, for instance, when I was in DFW, I lived in Denton, which
Mm,
was Dallas Fort Worth Metro. I lived in Denton. It was really closer to Oklahoma than it was to Dallas. But there was a lot, and still a lot of investment interest from single family home investors, from people doing new builds and subdivisions, because it's pretty far from Dallas, but still considered greater DFW. And you get a lot of the favorable climate towards investors versus some of the, landlord tenant issues that you may face. And I also want to say, and I could be wrong about this, but I want to say in Dallas in particular, they may not allow short-term rentals. So for Airbnb folks, it might have been a difficult situation for them
for
on the
sure.
Airbnb front. I wanna pivot a bit here, Kurt, and ask you
Yeah.
about your own experience investing. You mentioned going from single family to multi-unit, and I believe I heard syndication in there as well.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Yeah. Yeah, I started small, it's funny, I read this book called The Alchemist. It says people who chase it hard or give it their all to reach their goal have beginner's luck. I told my brother that, called him like, dude, we need to buy real estate like yesterday. In like a week, he called me and said, hey, the bank I work at foreclosed on these houses. You should buy them. And I bought 3 houses right then and sold them a few months later for a great profit and continued to 1031 into duplex, triplex, 6 units, and then 11 units, 12 units, stuff like that, until I met a mentor. And then that's when I started syndicating, taking investor money. So I did that for a few years, and now I'm at a point where I'm still buying existing buildings, mixed-use buildings, apartments, but I'm trying to develop a building from the ground up right now, and that's kind of my new adventure on that side of things. And I'm selling off some of my Class C buildings and smaller stuff now to focus on more Class A buildings.
I want to ask you about raising capital. This is something that I love to talk about.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll dive into this. I actually spoke with a syndication attorney who was a guest on the show, who actually, basically said to me, he said, Dylan, I think you might want to take on partners, but don't do the syndication for yourself just yet, because there are some risks with raising capital. But what has been your experience with capital raising? And then also, what advice would you give to folks who may be interested in getting started raising capital?
My experience is that it starts slow and it's hard to do, but you gain momentum over time. And it's a lot about mindset. A lot of people think they're going out and begging for money and it feels uncomfortable to them. But it's more about providing opportunity to people. And if you provide an opportunity that's compelling enough, they will invest. There's a lot of people out there that want to invest in real estate, but maybe too busy. And you give them this avenue to invest in real estate with someone they know and trust. I think a great advice is just mention to people offhandedly with people that say, what are you up to? Or what's new? Say, well, I'm investing in real estate and I'm partnering with investors, something of that nature, just so they know. And you don't know how many times I've done that. And then people will come to me and say, hey, can I invest in your next deal? And it's been very powerful for me. I didn't come from a lot of money, but I'm a huge networker. I run a meetup group in town here with 2,500 members. So people knowing that I do that and wanting a local person to invest with has been very helpful. So I always say another piece of advice for people, you got to be a farmer and not a hunter. And what I mean is you plant the seed like a relationship, plant the seed, water it, grow it, genuinely care. I don't build relationships with people that I think are like jerks or something. It has to be the right fit. Then that tree grows and gives you apples for the rest of your life. And there's other people that are hunters. They might go to a meetup group and say, hey, I got this deal, 100 units down in Texas. You want to invest? And that's skipping that whole nurturing of a relationship part and building a relationship and building trust. I think it's so important to genuinely care about the relationship and grow it and treat it with utmost respect like you would any friend. And then see what happens. Not everyone's a good fit. Not everyone will invest, and the right people will.
That's the commercial agent coming in. I like it because, when I hear that, it really harkens back to in my own life, some of the goal setting that I've had to do. And you realize that you might set a goal and you might not hit it when you want to. You might hit it a year later. And then you say, oh, well, this took, 2 years for me to do this. And then that tends to create a shift in mindset. Okay, well, I might have to be patient for this to matriculate. Relationships can be like that. I know in my experience, I didn't think that I would become a realtor when I first got started wholesaling. And then it was about 2 years later where I ended up getting my license. We are coming up on time here, though, Kurt.
Yep.
Where can folks go if maybe they're in the greater Minneapolis area and they've got a deal they'd like you to look at, or if they'd like to reach out to you, get in contact with you?
I would say go to my Instagram at Kurt-Pauley, Kurt-Pauley. Find me there. Send me a message. Follow me. And yeah, I'm willing to talk to anyone. I'm a huge networker and love helping. I had a lot of people help me and great mentors, so I try to give back.
Kurt, thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.